morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of 4 a.m. in Quarantine. I'm your host, Stephen Rivera. Extremely excited to introduce our next guest, none other than Vandana Verma. She is a best-selling author and career and leadership coach. Super excited for her to share her story. It's a really cool story coming from the corporate world now into the entrepreneurial world, becoming a best-selling author. And her book is an extreme, just insightful book, especially in the times that we're in right now. So I'm excited for her to share that, excited for her to share her mindset and, how exactly she coaches her leadership portion of her business. And again, I'm extremely grateful to have you here, Vandana, and extremely excited for you to share your story, especially in these times, because I think that you can help many people with what you're putting out and the mindset in which you have coming into a time like this. So give us an idea, what have you been doing in quarantine right now, especially I know that you're always looking to move forward, right? Propel yourself and your business forward. During these times, it's a little interesting for us to, continue that path and to stay focused during these times. So what are you doing? And give us a little bit of background as to who you are and how you became a best-selling author as well.
Okay, great. First of all, Steve, thank you for having me. I'm very excited to be here. So yeah, the question I get asked most often is how did you go about writing your book? So to give you a little bit of background, I've been in corporate America for 20 plus years. My husband has been an entrepreneur pretty much all his adult life, and we had a good, comfortable life where we had a house in the suburbs, living the American dream with two cars, kids, picket fences, the whole deal. And then, so life was good. And then tragedy struck. So what happened was my husband and I, we bought a restaurant, an investment as a business investment. And that ended up being a really bad investment. And not only did we lose the money that we put into, purchase it, but also just to keep it running for as long as we kept it running, we actually had to put in money from our savings and retirement income and, the whole deal. Money put aside for kids' tuition and everything. So it was a really, it was a very negative spiral. Very quickly, we lost a lot of money. We were in a very financially insecure position, and things went from being great to really bad very quickly. So that was a difficult time in our lives. And what it did for me specifically was force me outside of my comfort zone and try to find different ways to make income. So I was now even more determined and motivated to figure out a way to increase my income at work and of course alongside my husband in the business side as well. So I did a lot of things that I wouldn't have done otherwise in my comfortable life. And by taking those steps, what happened was I grew by leaps and bounds in my career, and I landed up in a leadership position in a great company, and working with great leaders in the company, as well as having a great team, and learned a lot, contributed a lot to the company. I had a huge learning curve, in that process, and of course was able to increase my income significantly. So when I got to this place of feeling financially secure and great about my life again, I looked back and I connected the dots. Like, wait, what changed? What did I do differently to get to this place? And I noticed the steps, and I said, hey, this is something that everybody should know about. This almost became my calling, this message that I wanted to share with the world, because I feel like these are steps that anybody could take, and get to a much better place. Whether you're already in a good job, you can be in a better position in your good job. Or if you're in a business, you could be in a better position in the business. And these are like very core fundamental principles that anybody could use. So that became my calling. I ended up writing the book, and it actually ended up being a bestseller in 2 categories on Amazon. So I'm very grateful for that. That launched my coaching business.
Yeah, that's amazing. And that's something that a lot of people can definitely learn from. And I'm excited for you to share how you balance both the corporate side of things, being a leader in this, large and prestigious corporate company, and then also being able to, you know, set aside some time to, run your business and to be a career and leadership coach. How do you find that balance, and then how do you also make sure that your mindset stays, in that entrepreneurial space, and you don't necessarily lose sight of that in the corporate world?
Right. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned that is serving me up until now is that I'm looking to optimize my life, my business, my everything as much as possible. And when I was able to say yes to seeking help and seeking other perspective from other people, like coaches and other ways of thinking, is when my life really started to change. And now it continues to change. So there are 24 hours in a day. There's no, the richest man in the world or richest person in the world and the most poor person in the world has only 24 hours in a day. So there is a limitation. However, how we use that time can make a huge difference. So one of the biggest things that I focus on is I continuously evaluate how I spend my time and what I choose to focus on.
Mhm.
And focus, as I share in the book as well, is just as much as saying yes to things as it is saying no to things. In fact, sometimes it's even more about saying no to things than we even realize. So being laser focused is being very clear on what you want. So I'm very clear that my business and my job needs to coexist in a way that both I'm thriving in both sections, as well as my family life. And how do I do that? There are many steps and many tools that I follow. Like, for example, as I shared, saying no to things, being super present and engaged with the task at hand, doing things to increase my focus, like meditation and journaling and stuff like that, forming good habits, waking up early, and squeezing in me time, where I feel like I took care of my headspace and did the things that make me happy first thing in the morning. So when the kids wake up, and then when I have to go to work or when I have to work on my business, I don't feel depleted.
Mhm.
So those are some of the things that I do.
Yeah, let's kind of discuss a little bit more about habits, right? I know, you could tell somebody to go get new habits or to start new good habits, but I think more importantly, it's, how do you break those old habits, right? How do you break the bad old habits,
Mm-hmm.
and then create those new habits? But first, a lot of the times you have to break those old, bad old habits. How do you go about breaking those bad old habits? Because we all have them, we've all had them, and we all still have them at the moment. So it's just, it's always been interesting to me how, certain people, especially like yourself, go ahead and are able to break those bad habits.
Right. So I heard this thing that recently, that that I found very fascinating. So I'll share it really quickly. So we've all heard the saying, you can only take the horse to the water, but you can't force the horse to drink water, right? So we all know this. So the thing that I heard, which is very interesting, is that you don't worry about forcing the horse to drink water. Just make sure the horse feels really, really thirsty. And if the horse feels thirsty, he will find a way to drink water. So what does that mean in practical ways? So we all know most of the times what is the right thing to do. So for example, one goal that we probably each one of us has in common is to lose weight. Like it could be 5 pounds to 50 pounds or whatever that number is. We all have some goal with relation to losing weight. Now, simply put, there are only 2 steps that we need to do. Consume less calories than we burn, right? Did I say it right? I think so. Yeah. So burn more calories, consume less. It's as simple as that. So eat healthy, exercise more. But it's not so easy because, as you said, bad habits get in the way. How do you break those bad habits and how do you form those good habits? It goes deeper. You have to peel back a few onions. Is that, why do you even want to lose weight? Why is losing weight important for someone? So studies have shown when people don't have a very deep why about the task, whatever that goal that they're trying to achieve, then the probability of them reaching that goal diminishes a lot. So if people are clear about why they want to lose weight, so if you want to lose weight, so for example, for me, why is it important to stay healthy is because I care about my mission. I care about my job, my family. I care about it's not just to have a summer body or fit into a certain size dress. It's more about having energy and having a long life where I can do all these activities that I love to travel. I love to be physically outdoors and have fun with my friends and family and stuff like that. So when I keep my focus on the why of why is it important for me to eat healthy or exercise more, then it's easier for me to stick to those habits that are the good habits and stay away from the habits that are bad. Because I love French fries as the next person, I guess, but every time I'm tempted to, eat unhealthy stuff, I just have to remind myself of the bigger goal. Being clear on the bigger goal, the why, it's really helpful.
I love that. And it all comes back to focus, right? It's focusing, like you said, on the task at hand, and then also understanding, why are you doing this, right? It all comes back to the why, and, understanding that it's not necessarily, you're going to indulge on this right now, but those endorphins and everything that you're feeling at that moment is gone in the next 30 seconds, where now, your life, right, and you being able to continue being adventurous and doing the things that, you truly want to do in the future is now being affected, right?
Absolutely.
So, absolutely. And I love that. So can you give a couple of tips as to, what are some of those, how are you implementing, these habits, right? Or how are you, give a couple of steps as to how to get there for someone who's, trying to get out of a bad habit and trying to start some new good habits, whether it's on the side of health, maybe it's getting into a new book, because I know when I started reading and getting into personal development, I was having a hard time. I was sitting on the couch and, 15 minutes into reading, I was dozing off. And for me, it was, starting to read in the morning, right? I had to, start reading in the morning, and now I could read anytime throughout the day. It doesn't matter. But getting into those good habits has now led me, from being able to read a max of 15 minutes at night, now I
Right.
can read for hours on end. Doesn't matter what time of the day is.
Correct. So yes, a very good question of how to form good habits. One of the biggest misconception I had is I would look at people who were super disciplined, as I would call them,
Yeah.
and think like, oh, these people are disciplined. They know they have the good habits. They are just they have more willpower than me or something, and and they just are able to do things. However, as I said, in my journey, as I learned a lot of lessons and read a lot of books and came across a lot of people, I realized that habits are something that every single one of us has the power to form. In fact, we already have a lot of habits, whether we call
Sure.
them habits or not, right? So, I mean, if you think about looking at social media and being on social media, let's say if somebody is on social media for 4 hours a day, that is a habit. And they are good at that habit. It just happens to be not so good a habit. So how do you form a good habit? First of all, uh, there is a huge um, uh, sort of one thing that people don't realize, most people, at least I didn't realize, is that there's a there's so much merit in breaking down a big goal. So let's say if somebody is a smoker and or let's go back to your example of reading. So if somebody wants to pick up reading as a good habit, and it's hard, it's difficult. Now, what instead of saying I'm going to read a one book a week or one book in 2 weeks, now that's a huge goal for someone who has never read a books doesn't read regularly. So there is merit in breaking down that whole goal into small chunks and just say, hey, I want to pick up this good habit. I don't read often, so let me just start off small. Let me just start off by reading 5 minutes a day, but 5 minutes on a very minimum I'm going to read. So for the next 5 days, let's say, this week I'm going to read for minimum 5 minutes. If I feel like reading more, I'll allow myself, but minimum 5 minutes. And then the next week, maybe let's change it to 10 minutes. And then the following week could be 15. But the key is, first of all, start small, something that's easy, something that you can almost check off the box and give yourself credit for, because our brain wants us to do activities that are pleasurable. So if you read for 5 minutes and you feel good about yourself and you give yourself a pat on the back, brain remembers that. And next day you do the same and you do the same. It's a positive spiral. And then scientifically, it has been proven that a habit takes about 66 days to form. There are different studies that say it's somewhere between 3 weeks to about 66 days, but it would be safe to say that if you stick to something for 66 days, it will form into a habit for sure. And then you don't have to push yourself. You don't have to drive yourself. As you said, initially when you were reading, maybe it was a little laborious, but then when you form a habit just by repetition, then after a point of time, it's almost like our bodies crave those things. So for example, initially when I started meditating, it was very, very hard for me. So I gave myself just 2 minutes a day or 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes a day. And now I've come to a point where if I don't meditate, I feel like there's something missing. So habits take over, but just have to choose the right habits. That's all.
I love it. I love it. And I'm still working on habits day in and day out, right? It's always, how do I increase my productivity? How do I, get rid of my time on social media, or at least diminish it a little bit, and just creating those habits, in order to take some of the time over, right? Where, instead of watching Netflix, go ahead and read, right? And those are the things that truly have helped me, propel my business and life forward. And I'm excited to continue to do that. And, I can't wait to read to read your book, because the more and more we kind of discuss the book, the more and more it resonates with me and resonates, where I came from, um, and becoming financially secure. So I just want to dive a little bit deeper into the book
Yes, sure.
and understand how, like, why did you write the book? That's number one, right? And then how did that book writing journey go for you? Because I know it's different for everyone.
Mhm.
Some people are naturally good at writing. Some people are naturally not good at writing. Some people, have a very short attention span, so they have to write in small blocks. And some people could sit down and write for hours on end.
Right.
How did that experience go for you? And is it something that's like in the moment, or could you go ahead and write the book again tomorrow?
Okay. Wow. That's a beautiful question. So first of all, the motivation behind writing the book was just that, as I said, it was coming out of this very, very painful phase of my life. And after that, when going into deep thought and putting in a lot of work and learning a lot of life lessons in my journey. And when I arrived at a much better place in life, and looking back, I just felt like there were so many life lessons I'd learned. And in a strange way, I was actually grateful for the experience that I went through.
Mhm.
So, um, it's quite interesting to see that when I wrote the book last year, I wrote it on financial security. The title of my book literally is "I Finally Feel Secure About My Financial Future." And I thought that there would be a very tiny, small population that would resonate with that, because most people may not feel financially insecure. They have a comfortable life. And interestingly, coincidentally, it's a message that maybe a lot of people can resonate with right now, because they may be feeling unsure or insecure about their financial future. And so first of all, I just want to take a moment out to say to those people who are feeling unsure or insecure about their future, that I want to say that no matter how hard this feels right now and how difficult this phase may feel, it will pass. It will pass, it will end. It may feel like it will never end, but it will end. And if uh, used as an opportunity to learn and grow from, it can actually propel every single one of us facing unsurety and insecurity in our life into a much bigger place of growth, and eventually, hopefully, contribution as well. So that was a little bit of a background of why I wrote the book. Um, I'm so sorry. The second part of the question, I got a little carried away.
No, 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 no. Perfect, because I was just very, very that resonated with me as well. So I love that. But just the book writing journey, right?
Oh, right, right, right. Yes. So, okay. So when I got this calling to write this book, to share this message, I just was like, okay, how do you write a book? You just start writing. So I would put some time aside in my day and try to write. And every day I would write. And then there were days when I would be able to write a few pages. And then there were days when I could not write at all. And this went on for months, and maybe over a year, I feel, year and a half. And it came to a point where I was so frustrated, because this feeling, this wanting to share this message with the world wouldn't go away. It felt like a calling, but at the same time, I just felt technically almost incapable, because in my mind, and in hindsight is 2020. So in my mind, I think what was happening was, I did not think that I was a writer. I did not think that I was an author, because I had not written a book before. So I was like, oh no, I want to share this message, but I just don't know how, because I don't write. I'm not a writer. I'm not an author.
Yeah.
So all these limiting beliefs that stop us from doing these important things in life. And that's another one of those messages that I've shared in the book, is this struggle itself. Like, I didn't think that I could write a book, but I pushed myself, I kept going, and I was able to write a book. And so you can too. So that is one of the messages as well. But I ended up hiring a book coach, just because, again, from my journey, I've noticed that one of the best ways to be successful at anything that you want to be successful at is to model success, is to learn from someone who's been there, who's been through that journey, who's at a place that you want to be at, and just learn from them. So my book coach, who I hired, amazing person, one of the best decisions of my life. So she was able to break it down in a way that was so much easier for me to implement. And when self-doubt did creep up every now and then, or procrastination or perfectionism, all these roadblocks would show up, she was able to help guide me through them. So and interestingly, as I said, like when I thought I wanted to write a book, I said, how do you write a book? You write. Interestingly, I found out that that is not step one of writing a book. So I could have tried to write a book by hidden trial, and maybe I would have been sitting on an unfinished manuscript up until now. Or in my case, I decided to hire a coach, which really, really helped me, and I was able to write a book in 9 weeks. So that
Wow.
was amazing.
Wow. And that was how many years of information and failures, successes, how many years was that kind of compiled into this one book of, a couple hundred pages?
Well, I want to say we have every one of us has a book inside of them.
Hmm.
At least one book, if
Yeah,
not more, right?
probably more, right?
Yes, yes. Just because life teaches us so much, and if we care to listen and extract those lessons, we can all write a book. We all have a story that matters, and that we could share with the world, and share the wisdom with the world. So I want to say my book has a minimum of a decade or two worth of wisdom, but at least the previous 5 to 6 years of the actual struggle that I went through before I getting to a place where I felt financially secure. So minimum of 5, 6 years, but I would like to say more than that, maybe 15, 20 years of my life.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's always amazed me. Especially, a new writer, right? And being able to just, take all that and put it on paper. I've never been a huge writer until I started actually journaling, like you had mentioned earlier, and just putting things on paper has helped me tremendously. Just staying organized and understanding what my goals are, and now I put them on paper. Where in the past it would just be kind of up in my head, but putting things on paper, organizing things, um, increases your success and productivity in anything you do, right? It's the same thing, like just something as simple as now, at the beginning of the week, every Sunday, I'll write a menu down for the entire week as to what I'm going to cook, just so it's less for me to have to think about, right? Less for me to have to plan throughout the week.
Mhm.
It's just on there. I know exactly what ingredients I'm using, and that's what I'm making, and if I like it or not, right? And it just makes things that much more simple and takes my energy
Mhm.
and puts it towards more important revenue generating activities that are going to get me further in life and my business. So, um,
Yes.
I love that. Now, action steps in which you take each and every day to strengthen your mindset, because I know that that's what you do, right? Outside of your corporate position as a vice president for this large corporation, every single day you're coaching people, right? You're coaching people to strengthen their mindset and to become that leader that everyone has inside them. I feel it's just about pulling it out, and again, using the right habits to get you where you want to go and creating that extreme hyper focus, is what I like to call it. So, let's say you had a brand new client, someone who is, completely, is more pessimistic, has more of a pessimistic outlook on everything that's going on in our current climate today, right?
Mhm.
And they're in their own head. They may have gotten laid off, and they're looking to strengthen their mindset. So now, during this time of unemployment, they can take advantage of, resources out there. They can take advantage of coaches, mentors like yourself, to be able to, project them and propel them into the future when this thing's all over, and be a step up instead of taking a step backward. How are you going about, helping them to do so and strengthen their mindset and getting them to where they want to be?
Right. So first thing that I strive to do in coaching or any relationship for that matter is to build trust. So for someone to listen to you and want to follow, in order for you to be a leader and someone to be a follower, there needs to be trust. And how do you build trust? You build trust by making people feel safe, understood, and that you are on their side. Now, if someone is feeling pessimistic, someone is feeling um, really fearful, scared, it's important that I listen to their concerns. I listen to what they have to say, because not just saying, oh, no, 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 things will be fine, or things are fine, or you can become stronger, better. It's just they are in this dark place and you're just trying to sugarcoat it. Or, so that's not going to work. Even if they do listen, they pay attention in the moment, it's not going to be a sustainable long-term way of getting them to a better place. So first of all, every person has this need to be heard. So I try to listen, and a big part of my coaching is actually listening to people, and I firmly believe that the answers to their growth actually lie within them. My job is to extract that out of them. So I listen a lot. I ask meaningful questions, and then I listen and validate their fears. And so in many cases, the fears have easy fixes. So for example, if let's say it's a small business client, maybe they haven't even tried the different resources that they have access to in terms of small business loans, and the network that they have, and the different loans and different resources that they have access to. So stuff like that. But we can only get to the good stuff once the negative self-talk quiets down a little bit. So there needs to be this clarity, and there's a good portion of it is writing things down. So once it's externalized, the worries are externalized, the negative self-talk is externalized, then the brain is a little bit less cluttered, and then we can start looking at the positive side of things. Okay, like right now, the situation the way it is, I don't think anybody can say that it's not a bad situation. It is a bad situation. Let's call it what it is. However, even in the bad situation, there are many opportunities that we could look at that may not be available if we're constantly in the fight or flight mode or the constant worry mode. So that's how I slowly. It's a gradual process. It's not a quick fix. Like somebody comes on a coaching call and in the next 5 minutes they have the answer, and then voila, they're like everything is solved. So, but the steps are from validating people, listening to people, validating their concerns, and almost analyzing the concern. Some of it could be just like people wanting to hoard toilet paper is one of the concerns, like yes, be practical, but do you really need toilet paper that's going to last you 2 years? Like that's just fear. That's just excessive fear. And if we don't manage our fear, it spills into different areas of our life. So, and as your beautiful saying in the back of you says, how you do anything is how you do everything. I love that. So if we allow that fear to sort of spread in that one area of our life, then it unfortunately spreads to pretty much every area of our life, and our relationships start to suffer, our business and everything. So that's how, those are the small baby steps of how I take people into coaching. And then of course it goes into how to help them form good habits, get rid of bad habits, how to keep them accountable, how to manage self-doubt. And small things like always surround yourself with people and ways of thinking that are positive. So there are days when I wake up and it's not rainbows and sunshine for me, and I need to recognize that I'm not in the best of mindset right now. So I need to probably pick up a good book that helps me see the forest through the trees, or look at a podcast. I mean, listen to a podcast, or speak to a level-headed friend or a coach who can help me see things for what they are, but not worse than they are. So stuff like that. There are many of these small tools that I personally uh, apply in my life to stay in a positive mindset. I mean, I literally have these daily habits, these goals, these daily wins, I call them. They are read, write, sweat, hydrate, meditate, plan, visualize, laugh, and express gratitude. And every single one of them is, it's read books, write, journal, sweat, basically exercise, hydrate. So there's an X amount of ounces that I need to consume every day. Um, Meditate and plan, visualize, stuff like that. These are these small micro habits that they may seem small, but they actually compound over time and even over the course of the day, and help me stay in a positive mindset. So I help my clients cultivate that kind of daily routine that keeps them in a positive mindset. And one of the biggest battle is to be able to maintain that positive mindset. Once you have the positive mindset, they automatically start looking at and scanning the world for opportunities rather than threats. So that's in a nutshell what I do.
Yeah, and I love that about you, and I always have, the fact that you help to make things applicable in people's lives and business. And I think that's extremely important. It's not just giving, ton of information, because anyone can go on the internet and be overloaded and overwhelmed with information, because you have it at your fingertips at the end of the day. But it's about helping to break it down and make it applicable in people's lives every single day, and breaking things down. And that's exactly what you do, is you break things down, you simplify things. And that's exactly what your book coach did as well. And
Yes.
because they broke down this huge, massive feat, right? And they broke it down into small steps to help you say, hey, this is not so bad, and then all of a sudden, you're writing a book in 90 days, right? Was
Mhm.
it 90 days?
9 weeks.
9 weeks, okay.
Less than 90 days, actually.
I mean, that it's extremely impressive. And I really, I love that. Again, I love that about you, and that's exactly why I think you and I get along so well, and we are on such the same wavelength, is because we're able to understand that clarity, isn't just, you're not born with that clarity. It's
Yes,
about taking a step back, seeing the world for what it is, and breaking things down into small steps, and going after and taking action. Without
yes,
taking action, you'll never get to that point of clarity, because
exactly.
you need to create that environment around you in order for you to actually go out there and be level headed, and be able to be focused on what's most important in that moment.
Right. So one of the things that I noticed about like even myself is that I got into this book reading phase of like reading books, and then it became a goal in itself, like, oh, these X number of books I want to read and this and that. And then what happened was there was this moment of clarity, again those moments of clarity, right? So I looked back at some books that I read, and I thought that, oh, this was the insight I got from this book, and I why did I forget, like why did I not apply it? And then I realized that in this sort of, if the book reading um, becomes a goal in itself, then we forget that why are we reading the books in the first place? We're reading the books to be able to extract the knowledge, but not only just extract the knowledge, apply it in our lives. If you don't apply it in your life, you can read all the books in the world and they won't make any difference. So I almost made it a rule for myself that if I read a book, I have to force myself to almost journal the insights, even if it's just one insight. So and then somehow find a way to apply it in my life. And if I don't find a way to apply it in my life, then I'm not allowed to move to the next book. So same thing with my clients, is that it's not just enough. And as you said, 100%, that it's not about the information, because there's so much information out there. It's not just about the information. Yes, information is important, but application, the action taking, is more important than that. So when I tell my clients, read this book, or do that, I don't just say read a book and then your life will change. I make sure that they extract the insights, they talk about it, and they also talk about how they're applying those insights to their life, and I hold them accountable in a non-judgmental and a kind, compassionate way. But it's that slight push that we all need from someone who cares. So, but it's the juices in the action taking. If we don't act on those insights, life is not going to change. It's going to stay the same.
No, and it's so true, right? It's kind of goes back to the adage of like, small wins every single day is what's truly going to get you to that next level, get you beyond, where you are in your current position in life. Because, that's my goal, is every single day to just have, just to have a winning day, right? Doesn't matter how I get there, right? It's about having that winning day every single day, having more wins than losses. And if I do have a couple losses in a row, I get up, dust myself off, find a way to get that next win. And I think that has a lot to do with my morning routine. Is I try to, as soon as I wake up, right off the bat, I try to get 3-4 wins in right off the bat. Like you said, I sweat, I get my meditation session in, and I get my reading in right off the bat. So right there, I have 3 wins before even looking at any of my emails and texts. Those are my 3 wins. So all of a sudden, I start my day off on the right foot. It's very hard for me to have a losing day after that, right?
Exactly.
And I think that kind of goes back to what you were saying about making sure you're getting those, 10 things in every single day. And again, that's what helps you have your winning day, right?
Yes. And it's not meditation, or let's say exercise, working out and stuff like that. They are of course great goals in themselves. However, they all build on each other, and they help our maintain. So working out, it has physiological benefits. It helps our bodies release endorphins and so many other great hormones that put us in a great mood and great positive state. Same thing with meditation, and same thing with hydrating your body, eating healthy and stuff like that. Now it's priming you up for success. Now all of that helps you focus. So when you sit down and you work on the task at hand, now that task at hand could be your job, could be a project that you're doing on the side, could be helping your kid with your homework, or whatever that thing is that you, or if you want to write a book, or training for a marathon, whatever that is, it just helps set you up for success. So these are almost the foundational goals. I almost want to say these are the foundational, the prep work to for you, getting you ready to do whatever it is that you want to do, and then it helps you apply. And then, for example, if when I was writing a book, now I needed to be laser focused on the book. Now, how does my meditation practice help with book writing? Is that it helps me get rid of distractions. It makes me more aware of when my mind is being distracted, so I can bring it gently back to the task at hand. So, meditation helps in that way. And I 100% agree with you on the morning routine. That's like key. One thing that people don't realize is that there are only two states that we could be in. We could either be in a proactive state or a reactive state. So in a reactive state, we are receiving stimulus from the world and reacting to it. So a lot of time that we spend on social media is in a reactive state. We're reacting to people's pictures, to their feeds, to their comments, their whole thing. Watching TV is mostly a reactive state because we're processing information, we're reacting to the information. So when we start our day by rolling over and just picking up our phone and checking either our emails or our social media feeds, we're starting our day in a reactive state. And when we're in a reactive, we start the day in that way, then pretty much the rest of the day, you set the tone for the day. Now, if that one simple practice of not looking at the phone for the first hour and doing something proactive, what do you want to achieve from this day? What's your intention? What would put you in a positive state? Now, that could be different for different people, but let's say exercise, a quick round of 10 minutes, 15 minutes of exercise, or reading something motivational, or meditation, or something like that's proactive, that puts people in a proactive state. Just by making that one small adjustment and sticking to it and forming that one good habit can actually increase your chances of success significantly, because now you are more mindful of what you want to achieve from the day instead of just being reactive to it.
Yeah, and that kind of goes with responding instead of reacting, right? You're responding, so things come in, you're able to quickly analyze it, and then you can respond instead of something coming in, you're getting some sort of stimuli, and all of a sudden you're just blurting something out, or just reacting to something on a whim. And that kind of goes back to just being in the moment, right? And understanding, having more clarity, because that's going to help you be able to get something in, quickly analyze it, and then put back your response instead of that quick reaction.
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. And clarity is key. As I said, every day, the more clear people are on what they want to achieve and why they want to achieve, it just helps you get your goal, get to your goals so much faster. As I said, one of the most difficult things that I've done in my life is write a book. It's just, even though it was a short journey, like the 9 weeks of, it took me only 9 weeks, but they were very, very intense 9 weeks. And it was just a very difficult journey mentally, because as I said, I didn't see myself as an author. It was very hard. There was a limiting belief. And then there was so much work to be done, even though it was broken down. And the one thing that really, really helped me is being very clear. Like, why do I want to write a book? It's not for money. It's not for fame. It's just, I had this deep sense of responsibility that I just wanted to share this message with the world. Because when I was going through a difficult time, books helped me, podcasts helped me, watching interviews of so many successful people that I admired helped me a lot. So I felt like it was my responsibility to pass on that wisdom to whoever is open to receiving it. But having that clarity. So when I was going through the grueling time of, like, I have to write so many pages a day or something, instead of saying, I hate this, or it's just so difficult, I was like, why am I doing this? I'm doing this because if I don't do this, and if I'm, one of the things I tell I use it as an anchor to bring me instant clarity, is that if I was on my deathbed and if I was looking back at my life, what are the things that I would regret not doing? And would this be one of those things? So when I just, it brings me instant clarity. So if I was on my deathbed and I look back and I thought, like, I had all this time to write a book and I didn't write it, do I regret that? I would absolutely regret that. So that just brings me a boost of energy, brought me a boost of energy every time I was hitting a wall. That clarity of why is it important.
And that's why I truly admire you, is because you've learned from these hard, grueling times, and now you're willing to share those hard, grueling times with others and to help them with their future, whether it's in their finances, their business, their personal life, just helping them get clarity and you know creating that optimism in the world as opposed to extreme pessimism. And again, I truly admire you for that. I love it. And I really, really, really appreciate you hopping on with us. I have one more question for you.
Absolutely.
And I know you're all about, routine and, organization and, putting yourself in a winning position. If you had, you're only allowed to do one thing in the morning, right? Prior to getting to your work, and getting on with your day. If you could only do one thing before hopping into your day, what would that one thing be and why?
Okay. If I could only pick one thing, I
Only
would
pick
pick
one.
yeah, I would pick meditation.
Okay.
I would pick meditation because it brings a great amount of clarity to the way I think, to anyone's thinking. And the biggest blocks that we think that are present to our success, most of the times, if we're thinking it's out there, it's actually not out there. It's actually it's inside of our minds. And the way to see them is to be able to cultivate an objective perspective. It's almost like you're a fly on the wall watching your own self, um, acting, reacting, responding to situations. To be able to create that perspective, being able to look at your own self and your own thinking, and be able to question it, is invaluable. It's a superpower. I call self-awareness a superpower. And that's something that I've noticed in all the greatest leaders in the world, all most successful people that I admire, have a very, very high level of self-awareness. They are able to see how they're thinking, what they're thinking, and they have a great amount of clarity in their thoughts, and they're able to differentiate between the clutter, between the limiting beliefs, and stay on course, stay focused. And that just is practice. It's like if you want to run a marathon, there's an X amount of miles you need to run every day to stay in shape to be able to run a marathon. So if someone's goal is to have a very heightened level of self-awareness, one of the tools that can help you get there very, very fast is meditation, because it increases, it helps you cultivate that objective perspective with your own thinking.
Yeah, and someone who's never meditated before and is looking to try it, um, you know, what's that first step? Is it, how did you get started? Was it an app that helped you kind of go through the process? Because that's how I got started. I used the Calm app,
Yeah.
and it kind of walks you through the process instead of you kind of just sitting there not knowing what to do, not knowing where to place your mind, and all of a sudden you're thinking about a million different things when you should just be thinking about almost nothing, right?
Yeah.
So what helped you get started?
So I tried a whole bunch of things, but let me just give you the let me spare you the details. And
Yeah,
I
give me the
would
meat and potatoes.
say, if I had to, I mean, if I have to share one way, easiest way to get started, I would absolutely say either Headspace or Calm. I personally used Headspace more than Calm, so I can speak more about Headspace. It's started by this guy who was a monk for X number of years, I think, and then he's able to, now he's no longer a monk, but I think an Australian guy or a British guy. But anyway, so he started Headspace, and I think the approach of this app is very, very simple. It explains what meditation is and kind of like demystifies it, because I personally felt very intimidated by the whole concept. It was very overwhelming. I wanted to learn, but it was so hard to get started and stay the course. Headspace is one of the best ways to get started, I would say, because it demystifies it. It breaks it down. It makes it very easy to get started. It's only 10 minutes a day, and out of the 10 minutes, I think there's these short videos and stuff like that, which talks about what to do and what to expect and what it's not. So I would say Headspace or Calm, or yeah, something like that.
Love it. Okay, great. And again, I appreciate you. I'm grateful for our friendship. Grateful for everything that we're able to kind of discuss, help each other grow. And, I can't wait for you to do more and be more and keep helping more people in your endeavors and in your coaching business. And just I know how much passion and how much you truly care about others. So I'm excited to really see how many more people you can truly help, because your book has already helped thousands of people. I know that. And your coaching business and everything that you're going to do over the next few years, even decades, I'm excited for you and excited to see how many people you're going to be able to impact over the next decade. So
Thank you. I really appreciate that, Steve.
absolutely. So now, where can people find your book?
Amazon. You can go to Amazon and download it. But I would say right now, because we're facing this pandemic and there's so much uncertainty and insecurity in the world, one of the things that I'm offering to anyone who is interested is I'm giving away a 45-minute strategy session to anyone looking for any kind of coaching for their career or for their business, or even life at this time, because what we're having to deal with right now is extraordinary. These are unprecedented times. The least I would like to offer to anyone who's open to it is be able to give them a free copy of my book. I can send them, they just have to private message me and I will send them a PDF copy of my book, or and as well as a strategy session, 45 minutes, help them get to a better place mentally and hopefully even career-wise.
Amazing, amazing. And where can people find you on social media, online? How do people get to you in order to find that 45-minute strategy session with you?
Okay, so they can reach out to me send me a private message on Facebook. It's Vandana Verma, and Instagram is I am Vandana Verma, and LinkedIn. LinkedIn is Vandana Verma as well, and yeah.
All right, cool. All right, I'm excited to share this one with the world. Again, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, your wisdom with me, with our audience, as always. And excited for you and your future. And thank you again.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.